Remember when we said we'd build something that mattered? I asked, staring at the glowing sign above our small office. Daniel grinned. Of course. You said you'd handle the ideas and I'd make the money. I laughed. Yeah, and somehow, we actually did it. We stood there for a moment, two kids who'd turned dreams into reality. The company our tech startup Nexacor was finally making a profit. Late nights and cheap coffee had paid off. Daniel clapped my shoulder. We did it, Ethan. From my mom's garage to this. You mean our garage? I said. He chuckled. Right. Our garage. His voice carried pride, but something about his tone made me pause. There was distance and edge I hadn't noticed before. Inside, the team was still buzzing after a new client deal. Laughter, clinking cups, screens glowing. Maya waved from the corner, smiling like always. You look tired, she said softly as I approached. Been worse, I replied, forcing a smile. Her eyes flicked to Daniel. You two should talk. He's different lately. I frowned. Different how? She hesitated. Secretive. I saw him close his laptop when you walked in earlier. I brushed it off. He's just stressed. We both are. She gave me that look, the one that said she didn't believe me. Just don't ignore it. I promised I wouldn't. But deep down, I already was. Later that night, Daniel and I sat in the office, just the hum of machines between us. Do you ever think about what comes next? He asked suddenly. Next? I leaned back. We keep growing. Maybe take on investors. He nodded slowly. Investors mean losing control. Not if we're smart. He stared at the floor. I don't want to lose what we built, I smiled. Then we won't. We promised. Remember? Loyalty first. He met my eyes, but his were unreadable. Yeah, loyalty. Something inside me shifted, but I ignored it. A few weeks later, I noticed odd things. Missing files. Password changes I didn't make. Daniel started taking private calls, ending them the moment I entered. When I asked, he'd shrug it off. Just business stuff? He'd say, What business stuff? You don't need to worry about it. That answer stuck with me, heavy and wrong. One evening, I found him in the conference room with a stranger in a sharp suit. Ethan, he said too quickly. Didn't expect you back tonight. Who's this? I asked. The man smiled. Investor. We're just discussing growth potential. Without me? Daniel waved a hand. It's informal. Relax. But I didn't relax. I stood there watching him laugh with that man, realizing I didn't recognize my best friend anymore. Later, as we locked up, I tried again. You've been distant. If something's wrong, he cut me off. You're imagining things. Just trust me. Trust. The word felt heavy in my chest. When I got home, Maya was waiting, sitting on the couch with her arms folded. You two fought, she asked. Not really. He's just not himself. Ethan, you built that company with your heart. Don't let him tear it apart. I wanted to believe she was overreacting. Daniel was my brother in everything but blood. We had shared food, failures, and dreams. He wouldn't betray me, would he? I looked at my phone and almost texted him, but I did. Instead, I whispered to myself, we promised we'd stay loyal. I didn't know then that promise was already broken. Ethan, you ready? Daniel asked as we stood outside the glass conference room. His tie was perfect, his smile rehearsed. Yeah, I said, adjusting my jacket. This meeting could change everything. He nodded, but his eyes didn't meet mine. Inside, Mr. Collins, our potential investor, extended a firm hand. Gentlemen, I've heard great things about Nexacor. Congratulations on your growth. Thank you, Daniel said smoothly. We've worked hard for it. I noticed how his voice hesitated slightly on that word. We began the presentation. I handled the tech side, explaining our new AI software. Daniel chimed in about revenue, projections, and scalability. Everything went perfectly until Mr. Collins asked one simple question. So, which one of you is the registered owner? I smiled. We both are. 50-50.
Ollie.
Mr. Collins raised an eyebrow. Oh, that's odd. The documentation lists only one. The room went quiet. My stomach twisted. One. He flipped through his folder and slid a paper across the table. Yes, I double-checked this morning. According to the registry, Nexicor belongs solely to Mr. Daniel Price. For a moment I couldn't breathe. That's impossible. Daniel didn't flinch. He just leaned back, casual. There must be a mistake. Mr. Collins frowned. I don't think so. It's a clear record. I looked at Daniel. You filed that paperwork? You handled the legal side. Yeah, he said softly, eyes still on the table. So, my voice cracked. Why does it say only your name? He finally looked up. Cold. Calm. Because I updated it. What? I made some adjustments, Ethan. For efficiency. Efficiency. My words came out like a laugh. You erased me from my own company. It's not personal, he said, standing up. You were slowing things down. Investors needed confidence, not to conflicting visions. Could barely hear over the ringing in my ears. We built this together. Every line of code, every sleepless night, and I turned it into profit, he interrupted. You had the passion, but passion doesn't pay bills. Mr. Collins stood awkwardly. I think I should give you two a moment. He left, closing the door behind him. I glared at Daniel. How could you do this to me? I trusted you. He crossed his arms. Trust doesn't run companies. Results do. You promised loyalty. I promised success, he snapped. And I delivered it. You just weren't built for this level. I slammed my hand on the table. You're unbelievable, he sighed. You're emotional, Ethan. That's your weakness. My weakness is believing you are my friend. He didn't reply. The silence was suffocating. The screen still showed our presentation, our vision, our future. I wanted to rip it down. Get out, I said finally. He blinked. Excuse me? Get out before I forget I ever called you my brother. He smirked faintly. You'll thank me someday. I wanted to punch that look off his face, but instead I turned away. You destroyed everything we built. Oh, he said quietly. I just took back what was mine. He left, the door clicking shut behind him. The moment it closed, my knees gave out. I sat there in the empty room, surrounded by the echo of his betrayal. The city outside kept moving, uncaring. By the time I got home, it was dark. My phone buzzed with messages, Maya, employees, journalists, but I ignored them all. I opened a bottle of whiskey, poured too much, stared at my reflection in the window. I whispered you were holding us back. The words stung like acid. Maya called again. I picked up. Ethan, what happened? People are talking. He took everything, I said flatly. What? Daniel? Yeah, my best friend. She was silent for a moment. Come over. You shouldn't be alone. I am alone, I said. That's the point. Ethan, I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up before she could finish. I poured another glass and sank to the floor. Every memory, our late nights, our laughter. Our promise played like a cruel movie. I'd always believed betrayal came from enemies. I never thought it would wear my best friend's face. When the bottle was empty, I whispered into the darkness. You were right, Daniel. I wasn't built for this. And after a long pause, I added, but I will be. Breaking news. The anchor's voice blared from the TV. Nexicor CEO Daniel Price addresses the company's sudden restructuring. My name came next, sharp as a knife. He claims his former partner, Ethan Ward, was removed due to incompetence and poor leadership. I turned off the screen. My reflection stared back, hollow-eyed. Incompetent, I muttered. That's what I am now. The phone buzzed. Non-stop messages, news alerts, gossip. Every notification felt like another punch. Maya called again. Ethan, don't look online. Just don't. Too late, I said. He's everywhere. He's calling me a failure. She hesitated. You can fight this. How? He owns everything. The press, the investors, even the story. Then start over. Walk away before it destroys you. I laughed bitterly. Walk away? From my life's work? From him, she whispered. He's poisoning you. I didn't reply. The silence said enough. That evening, I went to Nexacor one last time. Security stopped me at the lobby. "Mr. Ward," one guard said awkwardly, "Mr. Price instructed us not to let you in." I stared past them at the office lights. My office lights. "Tell him I just want my things. I'm sorry, sir." I turned to leave, and a familiar voice called out. "Ethan." "Liam, my old developer." He looked nervous. "They told us you resigned," he said quietly. "Is that what he told everyone?" He nodded. "He said you couldn't handle the pressure." I clenched my jaw. "And you believed him?" "No," he said quickly. "Some of us know better." "Then why stay?" "Because we need jobs. Not everyone can start over." His honesty stung, but I respected it. "Thanks, Liam. You were one of the good ones." He hesitated, glancing around. "Listen, he's planning a big PR campaign tomorrow. It'll make you look worse. You should disappear for a while." "Disappear," I repeated. "That's what he wants." He lowered his voice. "Sometimes disappearing is how you survive." I nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right." I left. The city lights blurred through the rain. My name was trending online, Ethan Ward, the partner who couldn't deliver by midnight. I was locked out of every account, every system, every part of my own creation. I went home, but it didn't feel like home anymore. Boxers, unpaid bills, silence. Maya sat on the couch, her eyes swollen. "You saw it?" I said. She nodded. "Everyone did. I'll fix this." "I just need time, Ethan," she whispered. "This isn't about fixing it. It's about letting go." "I can't." "You have to." She stood, trembling. "You're scaring me. You talk about revenge more than breathing." I looked at her, the only person who'd stayed. "Don't give up on me," she wiped her eyes. "I already did." "I'm sorry." When the door closed behind her, the silence felt heavier than betrayal. I tried calling her once, then twice, then gave up. The walls felt like they were closing in. Days blurred together. I sold what I could, slept in my car when rent ran out. Each night I stared at the roof, Daniel's smug face flashing in my mind. "You were holding us back," he'd said. Maybe he was right. Maybe I wasn't ruthless enough. But one night, as I sat in that cold car, something shifted. I whispered, "You took my company. You took my name. But you won't take me." The words felt powerful, even if no one heard them. I opened my laptop, one of the few things I still owned, and began drafting plans. No money, no allies, no reputation. But I still had something Daniel didn't. Hunger. And this time I wouldn't build with trust. I'd build with fire. "You're late on rent again," the landlord said through the half-open door. "I know," I muttered. "Give me one more week." "1 week," he repeated, then slammed the door. I stood there for a second, then laughed quietly. 1 week to turn my life around. Sounds fair? That night, I opened my laptop in the back seat of my car. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Freelance gigs, coding jobs, anything. Maya's voice echoed in my head. "Let go." I couldn't, not when Daniel's face still haunted me. I found a small project bug fixing for a cheap startup. The pay was low, but I took it. Work was survival now. A message popped up. "Client, can you finish this in 3 days?" Me, "I'll finish in 1. For weeks I lived like that, coding, sleeping in parking lots, living off instant noodles. Every dollar went to savings. One night, Liam messaged me out of nowhere. "Liam, you alive?" Me, "Barely." "Liam, he's been bragging about expanding overseas. I thought you'd want to know me. Good for him." "Liam, you don't sound like you mean that." Me, "I'm past anger." "Just learning," he replied. "That's scarier than anger." He was right. My rage had turned into focus. Months passed. I studied business strategy online, watched free lectures, read until my eyes burned. I wanted to know why I'd failed, not as a victim, but as a student. I whispered to myself, "If I ever build again, I'll build it smarter. Soon." I started a small freelance team, 3 people from around the world. We worked remotely. No titles, no ego. Just hunger. Ethan, one of them, said on a call, "You're different from other leads." "How so?" "You actually listen." "Bad habit, I guess," I said with a faint smile. That team became the seed of something bigger. We called it Novatech. No offices, no investors, no noise, just results. When clients asked who we were, I said, "We're the people who don't quit." It wasn't flashy, but it grew. Slowly, 2 years later, I walked into a small rented workspace. A whiteboard, 4 desks, the faint smell of burnt coffee. It wasn't Nexicor, but it was mine. Clara, my PR manager, looked up from her laptop. "You're trending again?" I froze. "For what?" She turned her screen. "People are calling Novatech the next big thing in automation. Investors want meetings." I laughed. "Now they care." She smirked. "They always care too late." At lunch, Liam called. "So it's true. You're back." "Not back," I said. "Rebuilt." He chuckled. "Daniel won't like that. I'm counting on it." He hesitated. "You really want to face him again?" "I don't want to," I said quietly. "I need to." When I hung up, I stared at the city skyline. Years ago, that view used to remind me of what I lost. Now it reminded me of what I was becoming. That night, Clara brought in reports. Potential partnerships, international leads, expansion plans. "You're in control of all of it." Scanned the papers. "It feels strange." "What does?" "Winning again?" She smiled. "Then get used to it." I looked out the window and whispered, "This isn't about revenge anymore." "Then what is it?" "Balance," I said. "I lost everything because I trusted the wrong person. Now I trust results." She nodded slowly. "Cold but fair." "I learned from the best," I muttered later when the office emptied. Light, I sat alone in the dark, lit only by my monitor's glow. My inbox was full: investors, journalists, partnerships. I clicked open one email. The sender's name froze me. Daniel Price. Subject line: "Congratulations on your success." I stared at it for a long time, my hand hovering over the mouse. Then I smiled faintly and whispered, "You finally noticed me again." I didn't reply. Not yet. I just closed the laptop and leaned back. For the first time in years, the air felt light. Revenge wasn't about destroying him anymore. It was about proving I never needed him to begin with, and soon he'd learn that the hard way. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Clara asked as we stepped into the expo hall. "I've been ready for years," I said, straightening my jacket. "Let's make some noise." The air buzzed with ambition banners, flashing screens, endless handshakes. Novatech's logo glowed beside the biggest names in the industry. "My company. My comeback," Clara whispered. "Daniel Price is here." "Nexicor's booth is across the hall," I smiled faintly. "Perfect." She gave me a look. "Don't start a scene." "I won't," I said. "I don't need to," as I walked through the crowd. I caught glimpses of familiar faces: investors who once ignored my calls. Now smiling like we'd always been friends, Mr. Hahn approached, his tone respectful. "Mr. Ward, your presentation yesterday impressed my team. Novatech's algorithms are revolutionary." "Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Coming from you, that means a lot." He grinned. "You remind me of someone I once underestimated. I won't make that mistake again." I laughed quietly. "Neither will I." After he left, Clara leaned closer. "That was smooth." "I've learned diplomacy," I said. "And patience." He turned a corner, and there he was. Daniel. He was talking animatedly to a reporter, flashing that same confident smile I used to admire. His suit was perfect, but his eyes looked tired. Clara nudged me. "Want to leave?" "No," I said. "I want him to see me." I walked straight toward him. At first he didn't notice. Then he looked up and froze. His voice faltered mid-sentence. "Ethan," he whispered. "Long time no see," I said calmly. He blinked, studying me. You look different." "I'd hope so. Growth tends to change people." The reporter looked confused. You two know each other? Daniel forced a smile. Old business partners. Very old. I returned the smile. He taught me everything I know about betrayal. The reporter chuckled, thinking it was a joke. Daniel didn't excuse us, he said quickly, pulling me aside. What are you doing here? Presenting, I said. Novatech has a booth right next to yours. His jaw tightened. Novatech. That's you? Surprised? He exhaled sharply. So you're competing with me now. I'm not competing, I said softly. I'm dominating. His expression darkened. Still full of drama, huh? Still full of excuses? He smirked. You should thank me. Losing Nexacor made you better. I leaned in slightly. And ruining me made you what? Hollow. He looked away. You don't understand what it takes to survive in this world. Sure I do, I said. I just learned to survive without stabbing friends in the back. For a second, he looked genuinely guilty. But it vanished fast. Good luck with your little startup, he said. You'll need it. I grinned. Luck's for people who still believe in you. He turned to leave, but I stopped him. By the way, your overseas expansion? Mr. Hahn's investing with me. He froze. What? I pointed toward the crowd where Mr. Hahn was laughing with Clara. He liked our numbers better. Daniel's eyes flicked between us, realization sinking in. You planned this. No, I said. You did years ago. You taught me to think like you, to win like you. He clenched his fists. You can't erase Nexacor. I don't need to erase it, I said. I'll outgrow it. For a long moment, we stood in silence to men who started as brothers and ended as rivals. Finally, I smiled. Enjoy the expo, Daniel. I'll see you at the top. He muttered something under his breath, but I didn't care. I walked back to Clara, feeling a calm I hadn't felt in years. She raised an eyebrow. That went well? Better than expected? She handed me a tablet. Mr. Hahn just confirmed the deal, exhaled slowly. Then it's official. What now? She asked. I looked back at Daniel's booth, where his forced smile was cracking under the lights. Now, I said quietly, the real game begins. Right. She smiled. You don't play fair, do you? Fair, I said, pocketing my badge. Fair doesn't build empires. As we left the hall, I caught my reflection in the glass doors. Stronger, sharper, colder. The man who once begged for mercy was gone, and the man walking out now was someone Daniel would never beat again. Daniel's team just leaked another article, Clara said, slamming her tablet on my desk. They're calling Novatech a cheap copycat. I didn't flinch. Good. That means they're scared. She frowned. They're spreading false numbers. If investors believe this, they won't, I interrupted. We'll drop our quarterly report tonight. Real data beats lies. Clara crossed her arms. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I smirked. She sighed. You've changed. Change was the only way to survive. The war had begun quietly, rumors. Fake news, manipulated headlines. Daniel's tricks were familiar, almost nostalgic. He'd built his empire on deception. I was simply turning his own tactics against him. Later that day, Mr. Hahn called. Ethan, Nexacor's trying to undercut your prices by 40%. Let them, I said. Our clients trust performance, not discounts. He chuckled. You sound confident and prepared, I replied. Confidence comes after that. That night, I gathered my team. He'll try to drown us in noise, I said. Ignore it. You speak through results. Liam nodded from the end of the table. What about the media attacks? Clara will handle that, I said. We fight facts with proof. Clara smirked. It's already lined up 3 interviews. You'll look like the calm genius, and he'll look desperate. I smiled. Perfect. Let him sweat. By morning, Novatech's name was everywhere. Innovation over intimidation. That headline alone made Daniel furious. I knew because he called. My phone rang. I answered without hesitation. Still stealing my spotlight, he hissed. Still blaming others for your failures? I replied, You think this little company of yours can touch me? Touch you? I said calmly. Daniel, I'm suffocating you. He laughed, but but it sounded forced. Don't get cocky, Ethan. I made you. No, I said, voice steady. You broke me. That's not the same thing. He hung up. I leaned back in my chair, a strange calm settling in. The man who once terrified me was now just noise on the other end of a phone. A few days later, Clara stormed into my office. Nexicores. Investors are pulling out. I raised an eyebrow. Already. Apparently their financials don't add up. You had something to do with that? I smiled faintly. Not directly. I just made sure the truth reached the right people. She shook her head. You're dangerous when you're calm. I learned from a master manipulator, I said. Now I'm simply better at it. By week's end, Novatech's growth doubled. Clients who once ignored me came crawling back. Daniel's empire began cracking under the weight of his own lies. Liam came by one night with a grin. You won't believe this half of Nexicor's staff just resigned. I chuckled. Karma's punctual this time, don't you feel bad? He asked. Not really, I said. Justice doesn't need to apologize. Clara joined us, holding her laptop. Adia wants a statement about Nexicor's losses. Should I decline? No, I said. Tell them this. Novatech believes the market rewards integrity. That's all. She grinned. That's subtle. Fidelity wins wars, I replied. 2 weeks later, a storm of headlines hit. Nexicor, under investigation for fraud. I didn't even have to lift a finger. His past caught up faster than I ever could have planned. Clara walked into my office quietly. It's over, she said. They're finished. I stared at my reflection in the glass wall. No, not yet. She hesitated. You still want more? I want him to see what it feels like, to watch everything crumble and not be able to stop it. Then what? She asked softly. Then I'll let go. That night, Daniel called again. His voice was hoarse. You did this, didn't you? Said nothing. He shouted, say something. I finally answered, no, Daniel. You did this to yourself. I just watched. He cursed and hung up. For a moment I sat there, listening to the dial tone. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like balance. Clara entered quietly. You okay? I'm fine, I said, just watching karma work. She smiled faintly. Cold. Efficient, I corrected. There's a difference. As I looked out at the city, lights flickering like tiny victories, I whispered, you taught me betrayal, Daniel. But I turned it into strategy. For once the war was mine and I didn't feel guilty for winning it. Clara burst into my office, breathless. You need to see this. I looked up from my laptop. What now? She turned her screen toward me. Headlines filled the display. Nexicor, under investigation for fraud. Major investors, withdraw support. A slow smile crept across my face. So it's happening, she nodded. It's worse than anyone thought. Employees are quitting, clients are suing, and Daniel's name is everywhere in all the wrong ways. I leaned back in my chair. Karma doesn't miss. She hesitated. You don't sound happy? Not happy, I said quietly. I'm satisfied. A knock on the door interrupted us. Clara opened it, then froze. It's him. I frowned. Who? She stepped aside. Daniel walked in. He looked nothing like the man I remembered. No tailored suit, no confident smirk. Just exhaustion. His tie hung loose, and his voice cracked when he spoke. Ethan, I need to talk. Clara shot me a look, silently asking if she should leave. It's fine, I said. Stay. Daniel swallowed hard. You've seen the news? I have. He took a shaky breath. Everything's falling apart. I don't know how to fix it. I crossed my arms. Strange. I thought you didn't need me. He flinched. Look, I made mistakes. Mistakes? I cut in. You stole from me, destroyed my reputation, left me homeless. That's not a mistake, Daniel. That's a choice. He dropped his gaze. I was scared. Investors were pressuring me, and I slammed my hand on the desk. You betrayed me because you were scared. You could have asked for help. I couldn't, he said weakly. You were always better at everything. I wanted to prove I didn't need you, so you proved it, I said coldly. Congratulations. he sighed. I didn't come here to argue. I came to ask for help. Clara's eyes widened. Help? You're serious? Daniel ignored her. Ethan, you have the network, the stability, the investors. Partner with me. We can rebuild Nexicor together. I stared at him for a long moment. You're asking me to save the company you stole from me? His voice trembled. I don't have anyone else. I leaned forward slowly. You once told me I was holding you back. Do you still believe that? He shook his head. No, I was wrong. I studied his face. The fear, the shame, the desperation. It was everything I once felt. Only now, it wasn't my turn to beg. You taught me everything about betrayal, I said softly. I'm just returning the lesson. His eyes filled with disbelief. You can't mean that? Oh, I do, he exhaled shakily. You're not like me, Ethan. You're better than this. I smiled faintly. I used to think so. Silence filled the room, heavy and final. He turned to leave, then paused. If you destroy me, it won't change the past. No, I said, but it'll make it right. He walked out without another word. Clara let out a breath. That was brutal. He made his choice, I said. Now he gets to live with it. A week later, I received a call from a bank official. Mr. Ward, Nexicor's assets are up for liquidation. You're the highest bidder. How much? I asked. Pennies, compared to its value. I smiled. Then consider it bought. Signing took place 2 days later. Daniel sat across from me, pale and defeated. His hand trembled as he signed the papers transferring full ownership to me. When he finished, I slid the pen away and said quietly, full circle. He looked up, eyes red. Are you proud of this? I met his gaze. No, just finished. As he left, I felt no anger, no triumph, just peace. Watching him disappear down the hall, I realized the sweetest revenge wasn't ruining him. It was knowing he had no one to blame but himself. The door opened and Clara stepped in. He's here, I nodded. Send him in. Daniel walked in slowly, eyes down, movements heavy. He looked smaller somehow, like the weight of failure had finally bent him. This is your office now? He asked, scanning the space. Mine, I said. Everything in this building is... He gave a hollow laugh. Guess I taught you well? You taught me what not to do, I replied. Silence stretched between us. The ticking clock on the wall felt louder than our breathing. He shifted uncomfortably. I didn't come to fight. Then what did you come for? He exhaled shakily. A chance. I know I've lost everything, but I can still help you rebuild Nexicor under your leadership. You need people who understand the structure. I cut him off. I don't need anything from you. His voice cracked. Ethan, listen. You're smart, but you can't do this alone. I can still stop. I leaned forward, elbows on the desk. You already had your chance. You chose greed over loyalty. You turned my name into a joke. And now you want to be my partner again? I was desperate, he said weakly. I thought if I made it big enough, it would justify what I did. It didn't. He nodded slowly. I know. I studied him for a moment. The man who once stood above me now stood trembling in front of my desk, waiting for mercy that would never come. Why are you really here? I asked. He hesitated, then whispered, because I have nowhere else to go. That hit harder than I expected. But pity had no place here. I stood up. Daniel, I didn't buy Nexicor to save you. I bought it to end you. He blinked. End me. To make sure no one ever forgets what betrayal costs. He let out a broken laugh. So this is revenge, huh? You win, I lose. The end. No, I said quietly. This is closure. He stared at me, his eyes glassy. You think this will heal you? No, I replied. But it'll remind me that I survived you. He tried to smile. At least you finally beat me. I walked around the desk until I stood right in front of him. You're wrong. You beat yourself. He swallowed hard. What happens now? I looked him dead in the eye. You're fired. He laughed, a bitter, broken sound. Of course I am. You'll receive severance, I said. I'm not heartless. But you'll never step foot in this building again. He nodded slowly. Guess I deserve that. You deserve worse, I said. But I'm done wasting hate on you. He looked at the floor. You changed, I had to. As he turned to leave, he stopped at the door. You know, I thought success would make me untouchable. I never thought it'd make me empty. I said nothing. He looked back one last time. Don't let victory turn you into me. Then he walked out. When the door closed, Clara entered quietly. It's done? It's done, I said. She nodded. How do you feel? I stared at the empty chair where Daniel had sat. Lighter. Not happy, just free. Clara smiled faintly. You finally got your peace. Peace, I repeated softly. Yeah, something like that. I turned toward the window. The city lights shimmered far below, reflections of everything I'd lost and everything I'd earned. The boy who once trusted to Eastleigh was gone. In his place stood a man who understood the price of loyalty and the cost of betrayal, and for the first time in years, that felt enough. The cafe looked the same as it did years ago, same cracked tiles, same smell of burnt espresso, same window seat Daniel and I used to fight over. I walked in quietly, the bell above the door ringing like a memory. Ethan. The barista asked. Long time. Yeah, I said. Still serving burnt coffee? She laughed. Still pretending it's good? The usual, I nodded. 2 black coffees. She gave me a knowing look. You expecting company? I hesitated. Not really. Just remembering. I sat by the window, 2 cups between me and the empty seat across. For a moment, I almost expected Daniel to walk in grinning, late as always, waving a new idea in his hand. Instead, there was only silence. Clara called. You disappeared again. Just needed a break. From winning? She teased. From remembering, I said. She paused. You went back there, didn't you? Yeah. The cafe. Why? I wanted to see if it still hurt, and does it? I looked at the empty chair. Less than it used to? She exhaled softly. You know, most people would have celebrated after what you did. Bought something flashy. You went for coffee? Flashy things fade, I said. Regret doesn't. You regret it? No, but I understand it now. What do you mean? Daniel wasn't born a villain. He just lost his way, chasing success. I could have been him. She was quiet. You're nothing like him. Maybe not now, I said. But once I was close, then maybe this is your closure. Maybe We hung up and I sat there in silence, watching strangers pass by the window. Their lives looked simple. No betrayals, no boardrooms, just movement. The barista brought my order. 2 coffees, right? Yeah, thanks. She pointed at the second cup. You sure you don't want me to take that? I smiled faintly. No, it's for someone who isn't coming. She nodded gently and walked away. I stared at the untouched cup across from me. It was stupid, sentimental, but I couldn't bring myself to move it. I whispered, You remember this place, Daniel? You said we'd own a chain of cafes someday. The words felt strange, spoken into the air, but saying them mattered. You took everything from me once, I murmured, but you gave me something back without knowing it. Strength. Outside. People hurried through their lives, chasing things they thought would make them whole. I used to be like that, always running, always proving. Now, I just wanted peace. The bell rang again. A group of college kids came in, laughing, full of life and ambition. One of them said, One day, we'll start our own company.
Oh.
I smiled. Careful, I muttered under my breath. It's not as easy as it looks. They sat 2 tables away, arguing over ideas, their energy familiar and pure. I saw pieces of myself in them, the dreamer, the fool, the believer. The barista returned. Everything okay? Yeah, I said softly. Perfect, she smiled. You look lighter. Maybe I am. When she left, I looked at the empty cup again. I whispered, I forgive you. The words hung in the air, trembling but real. Then I added, but I'll never forget. I took a sip of my coffee bitter, strong, honest, just like the path that brought me here. Outside, the sky was turning gold, the kind of light that made everything look new. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was chasing anything. I'd already won, not by destroying Daniel, but by rebuilding myself, and as I stood to leave, I whispered one last time, "Goodbye, old friend."